games now when you're 7-3 and they are in this playoff hunt. There's no doubt they have the third best record in the conference. So they're firmly inside the bubble. But Leo, the junior varsity is over. Miami was the last game that we figured was going to be an easy one. And I'm going to point it out right now. You may agree or disagree. This Denver game, do not think this is going to be a walkover. This is a 3-7 team, Leo, that I think could give the Bills a lot of trouble Sunday afternoon. They better play well to win.
Well, this starts a stretch defensively. I know everyone that was great. Hey, props to the Bills and Josh Allen against the Miami Dolphins. They finally did what we've been asking them to do, waiting. They won a game convincingly against a vastly inferior foe. It was great to see. It was really nice to. That's the mark of a team that's finally getting up to its potential. Now, yes, defensively, Sal, these not even any. I'm counting the Jets game as well.
Absolutely, the Jets game.
Defensively, they face every one of these teams are in the top 15. I think 3 of them might be in the top 10, nearing the
including Denver.
Yes. So this Denver starts a real gauntlet of a real test. I'm glad Allen and the offense got to flex their muscles and maybe got some confidence going, because it gets really, really hard from here on out. And it's the flip side here, Sal, is it's a chance for the Bills to quiet all the critics.
Yep,
and there's been a lot of them, and there's a lot of them out there.
There are a lot of critics. I mean,
let them do it. Boom, here you go. Shut everybody up.
Every point that was made coming off this game against Miami, I just spent an hour doing this a little while ago. Every point that was made was, well, it was against the Dolphins, though. So Josh Allen won AFC Player of the Week, but it was against the Dolphins.
It was the big but.
Yeah, right? They held them to 23 rushing yards, but it was the Dolphins. So I think a lot of the issues that fans were worried about before the Miami game are still sort of there. I mean, again, they beat the Dolphins, like you said, as they should have in a one-sided game, and a lot of guys played well. But, Josh Allen still had times where you just scratch your head and wonder how he could throw a pass that was so bad. He made some nice throws in the game, ended up with 3 touchdowns. The run defense didn't even count last week. Miami is so bad running the football. You and I could have gained 23 yards, I think.
They're down to their third running back.
I mean, it's just horrendous. So I'm not saying the run defense is fixed yet. The pass rush, they got 7 sacks, but you know what? Miami's offensive line, is terrible, and the Bills did a lot of blitzing last week because they realized the only way that Fitz can hurt us is if he has time to throw. Their front 4 really hadn't been generating great pressure this year.
Yeah.
They decide to blitz, and all of a sudden they get 7 sacks because Miami couldn't handle it. So there's a long way of saying, never mind that game. It was nice. They did what they had to do. But things are going to get a whole lot tougher, and I still think, Leo, a lot of players said it in the locker room, they have not played anywhere close to a full game yet. Last week came close, except for special teams, which is what ruined the point this week.
It wasn't complete.
But they need to start playing complete games in all 3 phases if they're going to start winning the games now that are really going to test them. And they've got some big tests coming up.
Yeah, and I big theme, and you wrote about it today, about the identity of this team, Sal, both offensively and defensively. Just when every game is a game plan thing, and McDermott and Daboll are so big in this, and Leslie Frazier included. They're going to do something for that particular opponent, and obviously it makes sense. It's not any big news here. This is what football coaches do. Teams have to do to scheme and all that good stuff. On and on and on. And then the flip side is once you settle on something that you do really well, and I asked several players this yesterday in the room. Do something well. I tell you what, offensively, back in the Marv Levy, K-Gun Super Bowl era, I'm going to tell you what, they ran about 6 plays and they ran them really well with some really incredible players. and it was Marv's old bromide. It's not what you do, it's how you do it. And they just really were able to tell teams, hey, come stop us. And most of them couldn't at the time. So I don't know what it's going to. I'm interested. I would hate to see. We go into this game now. Denver, like you said, 3-7, dangerous team. Lost a lot of close games. Really good defense, so-so offense. A young quarterback that they can. I like to see him keep blitzing this guy.
Yeah,
go after him. Go throw. Do that same game plan. Go after them. Be aggressive. Don't sit back. Offensively now, Sal. Josh Allen himself says it. I love up tempo, no huddle. He wants to be it's almost like a young Jim Kelly. He said this really fits him. He loves being aggressive. Something really clicked when he was doing that. Now, Can you do it against a defense with Von
defense.
Miller and better defensive backs and the whole shebang? I mean, some of those. John Brown had a field day against that secondary last week, so we'll see.
They've got a good secondary against this week against Denver. Let's talk about the offensive side of it. I wrote this story, as you alluded to today. The Bills have been one of the most diverse teams in the league in terms of who's on the field at any given time. And what's interesting about it, Leo, is that a lot of teams have had a bunch of injuries, so they've been forced to use different players in different personnel groupings. The Bills are the healthiest team in the NFL, so all these personnel groupings, they've used the fourth most in the NFL. And it's not out of necessity because of injuries, it's by choice. He's like a mad scientist, Brian Daboll, and like you said, he game plans specifically for the matchups each week, which is how he learned to do it when he was. That's what the Patriots do. It's exactly what the Patriots do. The Patriots really, Leo, never had a true identity on offense or defense. They really didn't. You know, like the Bears of '85 were just a rock'em sock'em. You knew exactly what that defense was. The Bills' offense, that was the K-gun offense. Here it is, try to stop us. The Patriots don't do that. Every week is different for them. That's exactly what Daboll was doing in his game plan. So, to your point, do the same thing you did last week. I agree with you. I think last week should have been an indication to Daboll. Keep your best players on the field. Stop screwing around with Lee Smith and bringing in, Robert Foster, Duke Williams, whoever it is. They used John Brown, Cole Beasley, and Isaiah McKenzie almost all day. The lowest snap count was 78% by McKenzie. Dawson Knox was on the field 70% of the time. Singletary was like 67.
Yeah.
That worked. Leave your best players on the field and stop messing around with all these different combinations. And again, to your point, the no huddle, I think the Bills should keep doing that. I think Allen, when you get to the line of scrimmage with 20 seconds to go on the clock, that gives him time to look, to process, and even if he's at the line, he still has to 15 seconds to hear Daboll talking to him. Whereas, you know what I mean? Get up there, see what they're doing, and Daboll could even keep talking to him till 15 seconds on the play clock. I think it's a great way for the Bills to attack. I think they should keep doing it.
You're saying that you can't, again, these guys will talk around in circles and try to pull it back. Maybe it's gamesmanship. Drives me crazy talking to, listening to Daboll and McDermott, game to game, week to week, all this stuff. Yeah, really, doesn't it make sense? If this is who we are, this is what we do well, these are what, they're always talking about doing things to put their players in the best position to win. Well, I don't know if they always do that. I don't think they really do. If they're going to dial things back, if they're not going to give, Singletary he finally has a breakout game, and then the next game you don't see him at all. I mean, those things drive me crazy. I mean, and I think it drives most fans crazy. They're seeing things here. They go, why? and hey, this game too against Sal coming up. Let them go do this. Let them get a feel for what they're doing well. Let them go, and especially defensively. Now I will flip to that side of the ball. They, finally seeing Tremaine Edmonds using this kid's athleticism, having him blitz. Oh my God, they have a blitzing machine here, and instead for a year and a half now, all you're seeing him is dropping back in coverage, like a 6'5" defensive back. I mean,
I would much rather see him going forward than
yes,
backward, right?
Absolutely. He's got great lateral movement side to side, but there's a time and a place for all that. Let him go. Let him loose. He's a lot happier.
I talked to him in the locker room, and I said, "You must have had fun last week, didn't you?" And he goes, "You're damn right I did." Basically, he said, "I loved it because he was blitzing. They blitzed about, I think him and Milano, what was it, 25 snaps or something? I forget what the number was, but they blitzed way more than they ever usually do. Now, again, part of that reason, as I said before, was Miami, and they knew Miami wouldn't be able to handle it. So they needed to get pressure on Fitz.
And they also had, but Fitz is a veteran guy that can read blitzes.
And he caught him a couple times.
And he did catch him a couple times. And if that one guy doesn't drop the receiver on that long reception, that was a key play, a key turnover on the fumble there, because Fitz had him going.
Yeah.
So who knows? But, again, I wonder, the defensive line, I know this drives you crazy too, all that rotation on the defensive line. I looked like Von Miller for the, talk about keeping your best players on the field. Von Miller plays 89-90% of the snaps for Denver. He's 30 years old. Doesn't seem to affect him, although he's not having one of his typical monster years. Jerry Hughes, the Bills' best pass rusher, he plays 67% of the snaps.
Yeah, I
it's
agree.
A big gap there. Get him on the field.
They started rectifying that a few weeks ago. They stopped playing Darryl Johnson. He's active on game day. He does real well on special teams, but his snap counts have been in the single digits. So they have gone more to a 3-man rotation on the ends between Lawson, Murphy, and Hughes. So that's been good. And then in the D tackle positions, they continue to do that, a pretty heavy rotation. But now it's actually not a bad idea because Corey Leggett has come in.
Yeah,
and he's he's a veteran guy.
Giving him a little something.
They had once Harrison Phillips went out, they had 2 guys that really, Kyle Pico and Vincent Tay, were really not legit guys you want to have playing 25, 30 snaps. They go sign this Corey Leggett, who's a former first-round pick, and he's kind of given them a little bit of some juice in the middle. He's got 3 tackles in 11. I think Latulele has 11 tackles all year. This guy's got 3 in like 30 snaps.
Yeah.
Plus he had a sack last week. So
Yeah.
they are doing more of it inside still. And I get why McDermott does it. You want fresh bodies, but man, it does drive me crazy when you just had a timeout. The defense is taking the field. Why isn't your first string line? Oh, it's time to rotate. Well, they just sat for 10 minutes. You telling me they can't just come back out and play? That's the stuff that drives me crazy.
And what do you, I mean, and you got like Star Latulele with this owner's contract. He's not even earning any of it. He's, you put him, he's, I don't know what his snap percentages is, but it's not high.
No, I know.
Ed Oliver finally, the rookie top pick, he finally had a bit of a breakout last week a little bit too, but everybody did. It was
you have to make that point every time we talk about it.
And again, it's a big but. I hate to keep doing that to the Bills. They showed up and played a really solid game like what we've been talking about. Let's get back to those. So this block coming up. This is it. It's November, December.
Yep.
And you got to win now. And it's as simple as that. And I was really happy to listening to Josh Allen yesterday when he came out and said it's going to take 10 wins to make the playoffs.
As I wrote today, he probably got sent to the principal's office though because McDermott doesn't like looking past an opponent, and both him and Lorenzo Alexander actually put some context into it. Like, it's November, December. We got to win these games. So they weren't totally looking ahead, but they kind of have an eye on what they have to do here moving down the stretch. Let's get a couple questions here, Leo, while we got it. Matthew Ronkowski says, it's all about catching the good matchup personnel-wise and keeping them on the field. I like Croft, Knox, Singletary, Brown, and Beasley. Well, in that alignment, he's got him in a 2 tight end offense. I'm not sure I like 2 tight end because I think McKenzie, when he's on the field, he's not a great player by any stretch. He's an average receiver, but because he does all that, the jet sweep type of thing, and then when they put him in motion, the guy runs like 3 miles a day in motion for the Bills. But that moves the defense, and it helps Allen figure out what kind of coverage they're in. If they're moving with McKenzie, it shows that they're in man, so that helps the Bills as opposed to throwing Tyler Croft and Dawson Knox out there. Right now, if I'm the Bills, the alignment they use, as we said, McKenzie, Brown, and Beasley, and I would keep playing Dawson Knox. I like what that kid brings to the table. He had some drop problems early in the year. That he's got to stop doing that. But I like what he brings. Tyler Croft, to me, it just seems like he's never really caught up, Leo, because he missed so much off season. He missed the start of the training camp, and then he missed the start of the regular season. I just don't know if we're ever going to see Tyler Croft at full speed this season. I think Dawson Knox is the best option. Tight end.
Knox is clearly their number 1 tight end. They might say differently, but the kid's got something. He's got great size. He runs. Like he'll get better as with his hands. Maybe they found a kid there because they haven't had. This has been a topic for years as well. No tight ends. Don't know how to use them if they do get one, and all that good stuff. So I like Knox a lot. I think a lot of people do, and Tyler Croft. Being a veteran, I thought he would have. Why would he be struggling this much? But back to using 2 tight ends. When you have two tight ends in the game, and to the viewers' point, it is. You're also personnel does telegraph what you might be doing too, and the key is there was sometimes maybe you can cross people up a little bit, and but I don't know if 2 tight ends with the Bills, what they're going to be doing.
And also
it's limited. What do you got? You got Beasley and Brown. Believe me, Brown can be covered too. Believe me, this is a big test for Brown. Brown had a great game, and he's having a really good year for the Bills. But against these better defenses as well, it's not going to be as easy by any means here.
2 tight ends is great when one of the tight ends is Gronk, right? I mean, you've got a dominant guy, and you get the other guy, but that's not the case with the Bills. They don't have
one of their tight ends isn't a legit receiver.
Right. Neither one of these guys are dominant type players. I wouldn't want to go with 2 tight ends too often. I would prefer the 3 wides because they're more dangerous. You know, you talked about John Brown. He's having a great year. He actually leads the AFC receivers.
Yeah,
wide receivers in yards this year.
He really snuck up on it.
He did.
And all of a sudden, there he was. So I mean, it's good to see. It's been so long. My God.
He really has been a nice player for them. Everyone talks about the Bills don't have a true number one. And I will agree that John Brown probably isn't the prototypical number one, Julio Jones type of guy. But you know what? He's playing like a number one for the Bills. He happens to be this team's number one, sort of by default. But the season he's given him, Leo, is kind of a number one type season. He's on pace, and I hate using the words on pace because you never know. But on pace for 1,300 yards, guess what? That's close to the Bills' all-time record.
Yeah.
So that's a hell of a season if he keeps going like this.
I like John Brown too in the fact that he's not a diva.
He's not a diva. Nor is he a good quote, Leo.
No, he just
the man does not like to talk
about just going about his business.
He does.
You don't see a lot of top receivers. That position just lends itself to the colorful loudmouth. But the Bills, even. Yeah, when you think about their history, other than the T.O. year, most of the guys have been pretty.
Yeah.
Andre could talk, but he wasn't.
Lee Evans was never a diva. Moulds really wasn't a diva.
They weren't divas. They were.
Although, when those guys played, Leo, there weren't a whole lot of divas, at least especially at wide receiver. There were diva quarterbacks and running backs back in the day. The receivers the Terrell Owens era.
Over,
Well, the Terrell Owens, Randy Moss era started, and that's when the divas started. Now they're all divas. Except for the guys who play for the Bills.
No.
He's got a tough matchup this week. I think Chris Harris is a really good cornerback, and I don't know if Denver would shadow Brown. I would think they probably wouldn't, but maybe they would. Maybe they'll try to have Chris Harris lined up as often as they can. He's a good player, and they have good safeties in this team too.
Yeah.
I think they're 5th in the league in pass defense. The Bills are 3rd, so that gives you a good context of what Denver's doing against the pass. Justin Simmons and Kareem Jackson are their safeties. And they've been pretty good. Now, they weren't good last week. They collapsed last week. They gave up
blew a 20-point lead.
And they gave up some big plays to Kirk Cousins in Minnesota in the second half. So we'll see how they bounce back from that. But the Bills, may have an opportunity in this game to take some shots. And wouldn't that be lovely if they could finally hit a deep shot? They still haven't hit one this year. Before you ask, the 40-yard touchdown to John Brown, the ball traveled 23 yards. So it doesn't count in that over 30 in the air stat that I think Allen's.
I guess it counts in the big play stat, though. Right?
It counts
20,
as a
20 yards.
Right, it counts as a 20 and a 40-yard gain.
Josh was giving the media a little nudge back yesterday.
It was funny.
He goes, "Does that one count, guys? Because for the big play, I guess, it does."
it counts as a big play.
But it was good run after catch, and Brown doesn't have a lot of big run after catch.
Well, and that's
either.
another. I raised that point last week. That's one of the problems with this Buffalo passing offense, and it's a specific weakness of Josh Allen. He has not been a good quarterback at throwing receivers open. And what that means is that the guy's not quite open. He's going into his break, and he's about to get open, and the idea is to get him the ball as he's getting open. Then he can catch it and make a play. Too often, the receivers will run the route, and Allen is either off target or late delivering the ball, and all the guy can do is make the catch, and he gets tackled right there. It's happened all season long. Last week, there were some plays. Cole Beasley had a good one after catch. Dawson Knox, and the touchdown was a good one. And then the John Brown 40-yard touchdown.
Yeah.
I counted it because I saw
down the sideline.
17 yards of after the catch. Leo.
That was a nice. That was a nice throw. That was a really good throw.
He's only had 2 games all year. The first game against the Jets, it was only a 200-yard game, and then this game where he had over 40 yards after catch. Yeah. So a lot of Brown's yardage has come just on the route itself, and the Bills need to be better in that. The big plays, the chunk plays come when your quarterback is on time with the ball and he puts it in a place where you could actually do something with it. That's one of the things that Josh Allen's got to work on.
Allen is 3rd in the NFL with 20 combined touchdowns,
right.
I think, running and passing. I mean, if you want to start, and a lot of people say, boy, he's really under the microscope and getting picked apart. Well, yeah, because he's, number 1 pick. He's one of the emerging quarterbacks in this league, and I think it's good that people are analyzing him closely. And not a lot of people are sold yet. It's kind of, but you look at what he's starting to put together, Sal. By the end of this year, he's going to be improved in all the categories. And I tell you what, the running ability there is not to be dismissed. He does.
No, he's a threat.
He can take off, and he can find that pylon as well. He really has got a knack for that. I think he's, I think he's doing just fine.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. I mean, we pick apart his game because he's the number 7 overall pick, and there are clear things he needs to work on. And like I said, I think one of the biggest, the deep ball accuracy, it sucks that he can't hit one, which, you need chunk plays. But if he just continues to improve on the intermediate stuff, that's where the biggest leap is going to happen with Allen. If he can get better at that stuff, where you're moving the chains and sustaining drives, those are the plays that are really the most important. Again, it's great to hit a 70-yard touchdown because you do need a few drives where you're not killing yourself for 13 and 14 plays. Too many bad things can happen on 13 or 14 plays that can derail you, whereas a big chunk play gets it done quick. But if he continues to be better, and he's now gone 163 games or throws without making an interception, that's progress. So keep doing that. Just stop missing the 5-yard pass. The one that's right there. First and 10, you've got 7 free yards, and he throws it behind the guy. Now you're in 2nd and 10. It changes things.
The 5-yarder and the 85-yarder.
Yeah.
He's
got to figure those two things out.
But he's really strong in that middle part. And I tell you what, that's where the yards are coming. Those are chunk plays. You could, sell 15, 20-yard passes. I mean, we'll take those any day.
I agree.
And clutch plays and those sideline throws and power throws. You really can power it through a lot of things. I think it's going to, you could bet we haven't mentioned Beasley much, but I'm still, this might be a week where Beasley, they got good safeties. They got the corner. He may be able to work in that middle area.
I've said it all year.
Get a lot of.
I thought
you might have that 10-catch game.
I thought we'd see more of those.
Yeah.
I really thought he was going to be the favorite guy, not John Brown. Maybe that's coming. He's going to Dallas next week, so maybe he'll save his big game for going back home. That'd be fun.
They could use that one because that's not going to be easy.
A couple comments here. Seth Missel says Croft will continue to get more involved in this offense. That might be true. I mean, like we talked about earlier, I think it's been a struggle for him to get ingrained into the offense. He missed so much time, but he's played, I think he's been back, 5 or 6 games now?
Yeah.
Something like that. So I think he's starting to get his feet wet in the offense. Made a couple catches last week, I think. So that could be. I mean, they did pay him 3 years, $18 million. They do expect him to be part of the offense. Dawson Knox is making minimum wage. So I think they would like Croft to get involved and be the guy. But right now, I think Dawson Knox is just the better player. Seth also says he thinks John Brown's been great this year, but he also says we need a Mike Evans type receiver as our number one. Well, a lot of teams would like to have Mike Evans on their team. He's one of the best in the league.
I agree with what he's saying, though. They need that. They need that really tall matchup winner, red zone guy.
Well, the fans thought they had it in Duke Williams.
Yeah, I know.
The fans thought they had it there with Duke Williams.
Well, Duke Williams, Robert Foster, right? Those are supposed to be the field stretchers, and it's just not happening.
Well, not Duke Williams. Duke Williams was the tall, red zone type guy. Foster was supposed to be the
speed.
Deep threat.
Well, and John Brown was supposed to be the speed guy downfield as well, but he's proven to be a much more complete receiver.
He is. I'm surprised, though, and I know he's been inaccurate on these, so I am surprised they haven't gone deep to Brown more. They really haven't tried many shots to John. If you broke it down, he hasn't always been the target that they're trying to go deep. So I don't know.
And that's been his career.
That has been what he's done great all his career. So you wonder why they haven't done it.
They're setting it up, so.
You think so? They're saving it for the good teams coming up here? Hey, that might not be a bad idea. Why waste it?
He's not on. There's nothing on film on him, and
why waste it on the Bengals or the Dolphins? I guess that makes sense.
First play Sunday is a bomb.
All right. It'll be 5 yards overthrown, and it'll be 2nd and 10 then. All right, so real quick, we'll wrap up. As I said this really since the start of the year, there were certain games on the schedule that the Bills, they have to win. This is one of them. I kind of figured Denver would be this type of team this year. They got Joe Flacco, and Joe Flacco's not going to win you anything. So he goes out of the lineup. Now they got Brandon Allen. Brandon Allen is pretty much a nobody, Leo. He's been around the league for 4 years. He's been a career backup. He's finally getting a chance to play. And I really don't have a whole lot of faith that he's going to come in here and do a whole lot against the Bills defense. So this is one of the games that they absolutely have to get. It doesn't matter in terms of any tiebreakers, that the important game there is going to be, I think, with the Steelers later on in December. But they got to start stacking wins, Leo. And this is one they can't afford to let get away because of what they're facing in the next 4 weeks.
Well, it's pretty simple. You got to beat the Broncos, they got to beat the Steelers, and they got to beat the Jets.
Yep. And everyone's laughing about the Jets. That'll be a tough game.
It'll be a tough game.
Yeah, it will be.
So there's your 3 wins. And if you drop this Broncos game, and you're looking at trying to win that next stretch, it's going to be really tough. And I'm telling you what, some of these other teams in the AFC are coming up in the wild card picture.
Yeah.
You don't want to be in that 9-7 mess. It's going to be, that would be, the Bills got the 9-7 2 years ago and got the breaks to get in.
Took a miracle
The
to do
9-7
it.
this time might not happen. So
And the thing is that they're actually, of the teams they would have to worry about in that scenario, they're 1-1. They beat the Titans, who I think could be in that 9-7 range, and the Browns have a really easy schedule. They, after 2-6, they might find themselves in this thing, and they lost to the Browns. So that's what I'm saying. The Steelers game, depending on what happens the next few weeks with them, because they aren't, their offense is terrible. They may not be in it come December 15th.
Yeah.
But if they are, the Bills, that's another one that you have to get for tiebreaker purposes.
Well, it's I mean, you're going down, in December in Pittsburgh. I don't care who the
a tough
quarterback
game.
is. I'll
I
tell
know.
You, a 70-year-old Terry Bradshaw would give them.
Their defense
That's
is
going to be
really
hard.
good.
That's going to be hard, and it's Mike Tomlin. I tell you what, great respect for the Steelers.
I know.
An off year for them is really. They're always going to play hard. They're going to play, and it's not an easy win by any means. That's going to be really hard. So the Bills, you like. It's all Josh Allen talked about yesterday. We got 7 wins. We're focused on 8. And that's how they have to go.
We can close on this question by Jamel Moore. What do you think the chances are of them winning the division? I don't think they have a chance. I think New England will. We're talking about the Bills trying desperately to get to 10 wins. I guarantee you the Patriots are going to go past 10. They've already got 9. So I think the Bills are out of the division race unless something crazy happens with the Patriots, which it won't. So they're not winning the division, which is why we're doing so much talking about these wild card scenarios, because that's what the Bills are going to be in. They're going to be in a mix with about 5 teams,
but he's a great,
and there's only 2 spots available.
Yeah, but he makes a great point. Boy, if you could win the division,
well, that'd be wonderful.
But it's never been the case when you're in the AFC East for anybody. It's always dominated for 2 decades by the Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. So
they've failed to win it 1 year, right? In the time that Brady's been there, it's been once. 2008 when he was out the whole year.
I think Miami took it, right?
Yeah, Miami won it that year.
So, I mean, they're going to be at 11-12, even if they're just whatever. They're not blowing teams away anymore, but they're
the Patriots.
It's a nice thought, and I would that's the one way to do it. Some of these other divisions, it's always who's going to win the division, because that would be the way to do it, and even get that bye if you could. But it's a wild card. It's wild card time for the Bills, and that's where their focus has to be. And they can't drop the games they're supposed to. And Sunday's one of them.
It is. All right, we're going to sign off. We'll be there Sunday afternoon at New Era Field for a game the Bills really need. So we hope you're there. We hope you enjoyed our coverage. And for Leo, I am Sal. Have a great weekend, everybody.